Hi, thanks for spending some time with me again today. We're looking at number 27 in the Develop Sight Reading book. I've done quite a few of these. I hope you're finding this interesting or challenging and hopefully helpful. I found that going back and looking at these etudes, which I haven't played for many years, is very helpful because it shows me how my mind is working. And sometimes it's pretty messy in there, so I'm going to try and play through this one for you. If I don't make it all the way, please forgive me, but there are always things to work on, and sometimes those ideas pop into my mind as I'm playing, so we'll see what happens. Now, this is marked andante, and what is andante? Well, there's no metronome marking, so we don't have the idea of what the composer wanted in terms of the tempo. And honest composers, Stravinsky was one, would play things at different tempi on different days. He would have something marked very specific in a score, but then if he was conducting, he would just decide to do it differently. And I like that. That's musical spontaneity. And time is not the only thing that he would change. So this shows a sense of creativity. What we're trying to do is play these things literally first, and then maybe, if we can, muster it to be a little bit creative and maybe even musically expressive with it. So when I see andante, one of the first things I do, or any tempo for that matter, one of the first things I'll do is look and try and say, well, what are the fastest moving notes? And I look at that spot and I try and determine for myself, does it feel at whatever tempo, what tempo feels like andante? So what does that mean? Andante is basically, I think of it as a strolling tempo. In other words, you're not walking to go someplace. You're not walking, to go to a meeting or to meet someone and you're worried you're going to be late. You're not walking just to walk and look around. You're not dawdling. It's a relaxed flow. So I'm looking for that, and I'm going to guess, and then go ahead and play it, and I might get surprised here. Oops, I made a mistake. Oh, I see why I made a mistake. They goofed me up. I'm going to have to back it up a little bit. This is the 2/4 bar, third bar of the fifth line, if you're looking at the music. And I do suggest you get the book. You'll find it useful. And what they did was, he marked eighth rest, eighth note with a staccato dot, eighth rest, 16th note with a 16th rest. And all of that is 1 and 2 and. That's all it is. But they made it look really complicated, and they made me think about it. And this is, when we're learning music, you don't want to think. You want to hear what it sounds like and make sure that you're learning the right notes and the right rhythms. Yes, but this is not thought. You're not going like, I wonder how long that staccato dot should be. Right, but now I've stopped, so I'm thinking about it. I'm going to start right at the 3/8. That's 3 bars before that 2/4 that I just mentioned. And this time it should be relatively easy, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. But what I'm thinking is, when I play a staccato eighth note, I would normally interpret that as like half the value, and not just short. I'm not thinking short, which is not what staccato means. I'm not thinking dry necessarily. That depends on the character of the piece. And I can't really tell that yet. What I'm actually thinking is, if he'd written both of them as eighth rest, 16th with the 16th rest, 8th rest, 16th, 16th rest, then it would probably be a little bit easier. Although that does sound pretty complicated. But now that I know all it is 1 and 2 and. And so the note lengths are going to be pretty much the same. So I'm starting in 3/8. 1, 2, 3, 1. Got goofed up again. I should have looked at this one before recording it. Now, what am I doing? When I go back, I'm trying to notice one major thing. How are the notes grouped? Because I know that 8th note t, 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 is going to be going through. The 16ths, t, 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 they're going to be going through. So it's how the notes are grouped. So if I'm on the 2/4, 1 and 2 and da da dee da 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 da. Then I go into a 3/8 and it's like, whoa, I've lost my sense of gravity. I don't know where I am anymore. So you have to be able to feel 1 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's either a group of 3 or a group of 2, and most of the time, and the 8th note stays the same. The tempo stays the same. So this note grouping thing is something that people are generally good at. You have to learn how to do it. So one thing you can do very easily for yourself right now, and I do need to finish the etude, so I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but you play an easy note, articulate it so you can hear the definition of the notes. And you feel it in, you're going to play one note continuously, 8th notes continuously, and feel it in different groupings. And conduct it. Now once you do that same pattern, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, then it becomes easy. Because you're in a groove, and that's exactly what you want. These etudes are designed to pop you out of the groove. So you have to stay very, very quick and agile in order to move into the next grouping. If we had a metronome, by now I'm sure that we do have metronomes that could be programmed to do this. This is like in the old days, a drum machine could be programmed to do anything in terms of rhythmic patterns. So I'm sure that software has been developed and that app is available somewhere out there. I haven't seen it yet, but if you've seen it, drop me a line and let me know. Because that would be a perfect thing to do with these etudes. One problem, it has to be you that's doing it, not the machine. Just like a metronome, any metronome, standard metronome, you could put it on 8s t, 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 all the way through, but you need to be grouping in your mind, in the feel of it. That's the main challenge. Now let's see if I can get through the end of this. I'm not sure if I can. Where am I going to start? I'll start in the same place. Now, this is the 5/8 at the end of the 6th stanza from the top. 6th line from the top, the 5/8 bar. So it says in 2. That means 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what's going on. Now, my mind is not sure whether I did that correctly or not. So I'm going to stop. Where am I going to put the 3s? So when you're doing 5/8, 7/8, 9/8, 8/8, any grouping of 8s where you have 3s and 2s possibly mixed together, you need to decide where you're going to put the 3s and where you're going to put the 2s. So a standard way of doing this would be just do it the same way every time. So I'm going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 at this 5/8 bar, regardless of what happens. I changed it. I changed it instinctively. I went 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So I put 2 3s in a row. I had 2 3, 2 3, now 3 2. Why? Because I can get that same feeling. 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1, and da. And then I'm going right back into 2 4. So this is very helpful to think about, because what you're really trying to do is make it easier for yourself to play. There are enough difficulties that we have to deal with, but anytime you see a way of thinking about it or feeling the rhythm that's easier and and allows you to be accurate and feel like it's simple, comfortable, understandable, do that. The only exception to that rule, which is quite important actually, is when you're playing something that's accompanied, or you're playing in an ensemble, you need to feel the groupings the same way with the other person. A good example of that would be the Kennan Trumpet Sonata. There are places in that piece where the piano part sounds and looks as if it's feeling the 3s and the 2s in different places than the trumpet player would assume if they've never practiced it with the piano. That's extremely important. So that means make sure that you check the piano accompaniment part and see how they're feeling the note groupings. The last movement of the Kennan is a great thing to practice for this. And it's simpler than these because the rhythmic patterns are not so jumpy and varied as you go along. I'm going to try and do that again and see if I can get through to the end. There's too many interruptions. Sorry about that, but here we go. This is the 5/8 bar. Wow, my brain was really on ice. It was like slippery all the way through. And that's because I'm sight reading it. I don't really know this one. Very interesting. Same principles apply. 1 2 3, 1 2 3. So I'm looking at 4 lines from the bottom. Here's the 3/8. 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Now, I'm not sure of that. And what happens is whenever you have sustained notes, and this will carry through, is pretty much a general truth that you may have noticed already. Whenever you have a note that's sustained, the brain tends to lose track of the internal subdivision. This also happens when we're trilling, which is another form of sustaining, I suppose. But so when I went ta, 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 my brain just went away. Instead of ta, 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 ta. See how I'm conducting? Pretty forcefully. So I'm going to do that once again. I know I'm stopping randomly and we don't have any bar numbers. Let me go ahead and conduct through the whole thing. So this is starting as a 2/4 bar, 5 lines from the bottom. It's pretty straightforward. Ta 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 da 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 ta 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 dee da. Nah, I hesitated a little bit. I didn't drop directly into the 3/8. This brings up another problem with developed sight reading. I'm going along in 2/4. When my eyes go down to the next line, I'm in 3/8. I didn't anticipate that I was going to be feeling a group of 3 instead of a group of 2. So I went ta 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 da dee ta ta ti ta ta ti ta ta ti ta ta ti ti. Rough transition. So in this case, I might put a metronome on the 8th notes. Just ta 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 ta, or the 16th notes rather. 8th notes will work too. 8th notes will work too. Quarter note will not work because when you go to the 3/8, you're in effect playing a dotted quarter. So there you go. Sorry, this is getting so academic, but I'm just sharing how I work on these things. If you were picking this up by ear, you might be able to do it more easily. But this book is called Develop Sight Reading. So this is about translating what you see on the page into sound in your mind which then comes accurately and consistently out of the horn. That's our job. And it is a job. It's a lot of work, but it's also fun. It's a little bit like a game. So I'm still a little rough on that. Let's see. So, when I go into that big beat, tan tan ta 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 ta, most people have trouble with that because they're not able to feel the ta 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 ta. That's where the metronome can help you. But what you need to do in order to play this without the aid of a metronome is you have to internalize that subdivided beat. Great exercise for that. Well, I wish I could have played that one a little bit better for you, but I hope some of the suggestions derived from my own struggles will help you in your practice, and that you're playing this better than I did very shortly. Okay, go practice. I'll see you later on. Have a great day. Bye-bye.